Video for Lohfink 74 to 88. First question here is, what does Lohfink mean when he writes the Exodus brought the people out of Egypt in order to bring them into a new society, and the Torah furnishes the model for that new society? Well, first of all, let's say that is what we're talking about here. We're talking about being the people of God, right? So we're talking about what? Following revelation, God's actual will. And the Torah tells us what it is, right? Okay, so the people left Egypt. They escaped the religiosity. They escaped the oppressive society. Is that going to do them any good if they just go set up an oppressive society of their own? No, right? So what we have here in the Torah is the establishment of a free and just society, right? So they can actually create, they can start a new, free, and just society, right? And it gives them actual model, actual ways to do that. So that's why it's a figure of rescue, right? You say, oh, we're freed from slavery in Egypt. Well, not if you go back to slavery again, right? Because it would help to prevent them from slipping back into religiosity, right? Right, which is going to always end up meaning some form of oppression and enslavement, right? It doesn't do them any good to be freed from slavery themselves if they're going to go now and enslave others. And this actually happens a bit in the monarchical period in Israel, right? That's what the prophets have to tell the kings. You can't take people's farms just because you're bigger and more powerful than them. Every person has the right to take care of themselves and others here in Israel, right? It stops them. I mean, stops might be a strong word, right? It helps to prevent. You know, if you listen to it, it would stop you. Well, I should put it, it helps them prevent them from oppressing each other in their new land, right? It stops them from using their freedom the wrong way. When he says that the Torah cannot be limited to pure demand, right, but must be seen as, must be understood as a life-giving act of salvation. What does he say? He's saying it's not a list of things that you have to do because God said so. God said so, and he'll get mad at you if you don't. Again, I know it's phrased that way sometimes, but Lohfink will show us in an upcoming section what they mean, what it means when the Old Testament says God gets mad, or what it means in the New Testament if God says, if you're talking about the wrath of God. We have it in the New Testament too. It doesn't mean God gets mad at you if you don't listen, right? And punishes you for it. Now, what it means is that following this advice will produce the people of God. It'll produce the society of loving persons, right? The good way and place to live. That's how you escape, right? It maintains freedom for all, right? They don't turn back into the oppressors. It's not like in the Animal Farm story by George Orwell, where the animals take over, but then they just start oppressing each other, right? Why? What is the reason in Deuteronomy 16? The Deuteronomist relates God's revelation that we should take care of the widow, the orphan, and the alien or stranger, or however you want to translate it. It means immigrant, someone from another place who settles in your country. And Deuteronomy says they should take care of them because what? You were once immigrants in Egypt, enslaved immigrants, right? And what did God do? God took care of you. Right? Again, it's saying you didn't like it when people oppressed you in Egypt, right? So why would you do that to someone else? It's the same thing you can say to a non-Native American today if they don't like immigration. I know that there's counter arguments, but they're usually not accurate. Sometimes people will say, "Oh, well, that's different. My family came in legally." First of all, probably not. Second of all, why are the laws different now? Why is it so difficult to come in here legally, excuse me? Do you know how much money it costs to come to immigrate to the United States legally? It's usually about $5,000. Why did your great grandfather come? How desperate was he? Okay. Well, I hope you can think about these issues on your own. But in short, I'm sure all of us are glad that our families were given an opportunity to come to this country. Shouldn't we help others do the same? Right? Do you see what I'm saying there? I'm making a modern application of what Deuteronomy 16 says. You were slaves in Egypt. You didn't like being enslaved. Now I freed you, so don't enslave other people. I can say the same thing. My family was given a chance to provide for themselves, a chance for a new opportunity at life in this country. Shouldn't I give other people who need that chance a chance too? All right, finally, how does the Torah prescribe actions that prevent the existence of poor and enslaved classes in Israel? So now we're getting down to the real nitty-gritty here. What does the Torah do that stops the Israelites from becoming the same types of oppressive societies they escaped from? How does it stop them from slipping into religiosity, worshiping their own self-interest to the detriment of others? Well, if you look back to these discussions we had, like the discussion on instructions, right? it looked at the Torah. Again, the Torah should not be seen as a list of rules that you have to follow, or else God will get mad at you and punish you. No, it's instructions for a good life. It's advice for how to be a member of the community of loving persons. It's a blueprint for a free and just society. So you see here, one here is about releasing people that you have acquired as debt slaves. Right? And again, why? For remember that you too are slaves in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That's why I'm giving you this command today. There it is, Deuteronomy 15, 12 to 15. And it says you're supposed to free your slaves after 7 years. Right? Leviticus 25. This one says if someone loses their land, right, and maybe it's their fault. Maybe they were a lousy farmer. Maybe they, did something wrong. Maybe they wasted their time messing around. It doesn't matter what the reason was. You have to give that person an opportunity to get their stuff together and buy the land back. Right? You see, everybody has a chance to take care of themselves and others. The relative can buy it back. This way, what happens? All the land doesn't go to one tribe. All the land doesn't end up in the hands of a few powerful people who end up owning everything and everybody else. And it helps to maintain a society of free and loving people. Deuteronomy 15. If someone needs a loan, you should loan them what they need. Now, these loans were interest-free so that they didn't get indebted. It's another part of the Torah. So all these things help. And again, this is the one we talked about already. You should help the widow, the orphan, and the resident alien. This is Deuteronomy 10, 16 to 19. People that are in need. Now, these are situations where the person really might not have the opportunity or ability to. If someone doesn't have the opportunity or ability to take care of themselves and others, then there are times when you would actually just straight up help that person. You just give them food and clothing. You take care of them. You meet their basic necessities. So you see there's two kinds of help. One, you give people the opportunity to help themselves. But in cases that they can't, you're also actually just helping people. Right? I understand there's some discrimination needed there. But the reason, again, for this, why? You should love the resident alien, but that's what you were in Egypt, right? And I helped you out back then. Okay, I hope that this video helped. This Torah section is important. Study for the final.